Judi and I have been friends. We worked out for about 17 years, 17 or 18 years, when I was quite a new believer myself. And we've ministered together. We've even worked together in the office. And we've also done some seniors ministry together.
We have.
She's now a church champion for Faith in Later Life, which I'll share more about later. But tell us more about yourself, Judi.
Right. Well, if you want to know some personal detail, I was brought up in a family that became Christian when my parents were converted in middle age. And we started to go to church when I was 10. And I absolutely loved the gospel that I heard, that Jesus loved me before I even knew anything about him. And it touched me, and it has affected my whole life. I used to go to a very evangelical church, and I met my husband there when I was 13, he was 15, and we were immediately attracted to each other. His family had started to come to the church, and that's when I met him. And we were best friends for 5 years before we could get married. And we were married for 63 years. So together for 68, which was practically all my life, wasn't it? We had 2 children quite quickly, a boy and a girl. From them, we've had 6 grandchildren, and now 6 great-grandchildren. So I'm a great-grandmother. The oldest of them is 15. Wow. And so we're a large family and very loving. And it is great to see the Lord blessing the whole family.
You also worked together with Bill, didn't you?
We did. We'd always been involved in evangelism, even as young teens. We belonged to the National Young Life campaign in Bedford, and we had a big training program on seeing opportunities for reaching others with the gospel. And doing those things, we were actively involved in taking the gospel to people of all ages from, I say, our earliest time, and we carried on doing that. And a lot of, all our spare time, I would say, was spent doing that sort of thing. In middle 20s, Bill started full-time Christian ministry, working with evangelist Don Summers. Some of you may know him. He was based in Bristol, but he travelled, nationally and internationally. From then, he worked with the Billy Graham Association. He worked on their newspaper called The Christian until it closed. And then once it closed, there was a gap in the market for a newspaper that would report evangelism in a sympathetic way. Because there was a time when evangelism was not popular in the churches, but we wanted to show what God was doing all over the place and in all sorts of ways. And I was in the background there, especially when he started his own newspaper. That became full-time, working with him at home. We lived, worked, and played together, and it was, testing time. But it was a good time in the end, once we learned how to do it.
What an incredible ministry. Yeah. So you've no doubt learned a lot along the way about discipleship. But I wanted to ask you a bit about what is it like for you to follow Jesus in later life? And anyway, when did you first realize you were in later life? Because it feels like you haven't actually realized it yet.
I didn't, and I never felt sort of the aging that was happening because we were just so busy living, really. But once Bill died, which happened the Friday before lockdown from the pandemic started on the Monday. So I'd been nursing him for about a year with cancer. And then when he'd gone, I had those 13 weeks when we weren't allowed to be with anyone. Do you remember? And I was living on my own for the first time in my life. I'd gone from family to being with him, and then the greater family, and suddenly I was there on my own. I didn't even have a bubble around me because none of the family lived in Clevedon, where I live. It was a testing time, but actually in many ways it was a good time because I drew so much closer to Jesus than I ever had. I mean, he'd always been close, but I'd got Bill as well, hadn't I? Now it was me and Jesus. And so those 13 weeks, it was me discovering who I was on my own and what my identity was. And I found that actually the Lord strengthened me, and he gave me an understanding that in life, even if everything was taken from me, if I had no opportunity to serve or to do anything, if I could only be, that was okay. That I was here to love others, to love God, to love others, and to be loved. Just to allow myself to be loved. Now, I say that may sound very common and very ordinary to you, but suddenly it was a discovery. I didn't have to do, I had to be. Let me leave it at that for now.
I love that you didn't consider yourself in later life until 82?
Yeah.
That's marvelous.
Yeah.
And so you've been discovering who it is God's calling you to be now without Bill.
That's it.
And so what are some of the challenges of your personal discipleship now that you are officially in later life?
Well, probably in not being accountable to anybody, because it's up to me. There's nobody watching me, is there really? Not at home anyway. And, you know, self-motivation is quite difficult at times, especially when you're tired, and I do get tireder than I ever did. I know that some physical abilities are going, and such like. I find that let me say, praying has always been with me, not a kind of a quiet time in the morning and a quiet time in the evening. It's been a day-long conversation with the Lord. Whatever is happening is getting prayed about. So praying didn't change. I found that I hadn't got a routine now of doing Bible reading with anybody or whatever. And just sticking to, or finding any kind of routine is difficult for me. But I do find there's lots of resources. I do things online. I look things up on the phone. There's little booklets everywhere. I pick these things up and, you know, try and do what I can.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I'm not as disciplined as I think I would like to be, really.
Yes, I suppose when you're working, you know, we all have a set routine, and it's obvious where we need to slot in our reading and our fellowship and all of those things. But, you know, when you've got the whole week before you, finding that routine can be a challenge.
Yeah.
I gather you've also really come to enjoy fellowship with others
I have
your own age.
I have actually been amazed at the care that older people give to each other. I think when you're younger and you're busy doing things, okay, you meet people and all the rest, but you've got your own life to lead. I think when you're on your own and older, you care more for each other. And I find a very great support network at church. They are like family to me, because as I say, my family are not living in the town where I am. They're not that far, but I don't see them that often. And church is family. And those older people all really want to know how you're getting on. We all do it to each other. I don't think it's just we're looking to see who's going next, you know. It comes into it.
You're going to have a look at it.
Yeah, thank you. And I think one of the opportunities I see is that we are demonstrating a lifelong commitment to the Lord and the difference it makes in life. And I think we're there to show that to each other and to encourage each other by showing how the Lord works in our lives. And I think we're there when there's people who don't have faith to just show that we have got our stability from our faith. Yeah.
It's amazing to hear how you've been following the Lord in such a wonderful way for all these years and embracing this next part of your life. Demonstrating God's power and grace by example. You're not just doing that with the one-to-ones and other small groups anymore. You've actually at the age of 83, became the leader of a vast seniors ministry in your church, helping older people to have faith in later life. Tell us a bit more about how that happened. I know how it happened, but tell them.
She knows because she was doing that ministry, and it was only because Alex was leaving the church that I came into that role. Now, she asked me about 6 months before she knew she was going whether I would be willing to take over. But I was 82 then, and I was thinking, well, I don't think people should be taking on leadership at 82. I thought this was for younger people, and our role was to support the younger ones doing it. So I actually said, no, I don't think so. I'll support whoever does it in the same way I've supported you. And that's how it went on for quite a few weeks, months really, with me praying for the right person to be nominated. Well, nobody got nominated, did they? And in a Baptist church, you have to have a nomination and a seconder, and then the church members vote, to affirm they want that person. Well, it got to a week before, and still nobody had been nominated. So I allowed my name to go forward on the understanding with the Lord, if anyone else gets nominated, I will withdraw and support that person. Well, that didn't happen. And so I was voted in unanimously, wasn't I? Absolutely. No competition there.
Yes. Praise God. And after all that, you're a couple of years down the line now. Are you glad you did it?
Very glad. Because I tell you, I knew straight away it was the right job for me. To be honest, all along I'd known I could do it. It's just that I didn't think it was my place at that age. It was self-ageism when you think about it. I'm so glad I did because it's given me a real structure to my life. It gives me a lot to do, and I'm very pleased of that because really my time is endless. What am I going to do with all this time? So this gave me a job with a purpose, and it's very fulfilling. Yeah. I do love it.
So one of the things you've been doing as part of this ministry among seniors at the church is something called Good News.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Well, you started that. How long before I took over? About
maybe a year?
9 months.
In the pandemic.
Yeah, it started as restrictions lifted a little. Alex started it, and it was really for a service for older people, really, wasn't it? It was a worship service with people sitting 3 chairs apart from each other, that. And we had about a core of about 24 of us would go to it. Well, at the same sort of time as you left and I took over, the restrictions lifted so we could actually have anybody in, any number. And so I was able to develop that thing. And how I advertised it, I don't know if you can put up there. Can you see? So it was advertised everywhere that I could put it, in the library and through the local news magazine that tells you about events and things. And I point out that it's designed for people who are 60 plus, but everybody's welcome. And as you can see, what it is a varied program that includes music, readings, people's stories and songs, and then a brief thought from the Bible. And how we do it is to just pick up a topic, any topic. When I say we, there's 2 of us really who think it through behind the scenes. And then we talk to others about what we're planning and get their ideas as well. So the topic could be absolutely anything. I mean, we did it from, say, seasonal topics, but we could do...
You had a shepherd in, a real-life shepherd.
You did that,
yes.
Yes.
Wasn't it? No, you booked him.
Anyway,
lots of ways.
we did. We've done animals, we've done beauty, we've done caring. Last but one, we did childhood. This last time we did things to do and places to go. Anything can be a topic. And then that gives us a hook to hang the whole program on. And we do about 7 or 8 items around that topic. And it will include because we're doing this for people who don't go to church normally, as well as our church members, it's a very mixed audience. So we've got to bear in mind, we want to make it very welcoming and easy for people who don't go to church, but who they know they're coming and they're going to hear a thought from the Bible. So they must at least be open to that. But we will have a community song, and it can be some old song from the past, like "Those Were the Days, My Friend," or things like that, and we sing that along together. We can have solos, and sometimes those are old favourites that people are singing.
Who are these people? Who is your team?
Well, it's interesting. I've got to say about 8 people who help to make it welcoming and doing stewarding and things like that. The people who are taking part, they're all over 70, mostly 80s. A lot of us are in our 80s, and some in their 90s. So I've got 2 people who play the piano. Each of those are in their 80s. I've got 2 people on the sound desk who've learned to use the media desk, one on the sound, one on visuals. They're in their 70s. There's a man of 90, well, he's 91 now. He's still got a lovely voice. And he loves it when he's allowed to come on the platform and sing a solo. And he's a very keen Christian. He was a lay pastor, and he would love to get hold of the mic, but I daren't let him have it. I daren't. So he'll sing his song, and he'll introduce it, and he'll try and tail it off as well. But, there we are. Actually, though, talking about lay preachers, you see, we've got quite a lot are coming. They're all men, because I think we don't, of my generation, have many women preachers. And they are very frustrated because they long, really, still, to be out there preaching. But I am able to give them a chance to do a 10-minute thought from the Bible. And, I have to gen them up and say that this is not a preach. You talk to people, you talk and you tell your story, and you make it easy to understand. Because the thing is, some of these people, they're steeped in the Bible, but there's others who've never even heard it. So they get their chance, which is lovely.
So it's good news for you, it's good news for your older team members. How is it good news for those who come?
Well, it's providing a place to overcome this loneliness and give a chance to build friendships, and they do. And how much they love it is that now people are bringing their friends. So that's nice to see. At the last count, I had 73 there, but we are gradually building. And I've said to them, look, you are the way this can be publicized. It's the best way is for you to bring others. If you really enjoy it, bring others to it. And I'm hoping that in due course we'll have a much larger number, What else does it do? Well, the thing is, right through it all, they know that we're saying, God knows you. He understands you. He loves you in spite of everything. He does love you. And there's a chance for a personal relationship with God. It's what he wants. And we're not preaching heavy gospel at all. We're just talking it. And in the things and the people that take part, they are seeing it being demonstrated. So this is what we're doing.
Yeah, marvelous. Well, you've given us a real flavour of what can be done by and through and for older people. Tell us, if somebody's just here and just thinking, well, we've got nothing, we don't even know where to begin, other than Sundays, we don't really do anything specific for older people. Where should they start? How could they get something going? I think I would say if you've got the germ of an idea that might be possible, you pray about that, get a clear vision of what might be possible. Share it with a few others who might also catch the vision, and then pray together. When you feel it's right, then discern between yourselves
what you are capable of doing together as a team. And I would suggest you do need other people around you who are going to pray with you and be with you and support you in it. But I think with that prayer background, this is how I gathered a team together. Once it was known then, as I say, once we'd decided what we could do, we let it be known more widely, and then different people came and said, we said we'd like help. So people did come and say, yeah, what can we do? And that's where we went, and I would suggest that as a way forward.
Try something.
Yes. Yeah.
Pray and try.
And don't feel it just because you're the only one who's don't feel you're the only one who is feeling that way. But you might be the one with the vision of what can happen. So from there.
Yeah, great. I hope that's a help. But Judi, it sounds a bit like you and your team are a bit like operating on your own within the church. How can the church support you? How is the church supporting you? And what do you find as an encouragement from your leaders?
I think it's a great encouragement that they allow me to do it, to be honest. Because for them to have somebody in, I'm officially called Ministry Team Leader to Seniors, and to put somebody in that role, allow somebody my age, and give me my head really, but I know they do, I'm sure they pray in the background. Now and again, the minister will ask how something went. I find it really good when real interest is shown. It comes up when we have a prayer focus. I'm allowed to say something about it. It is recognised, and I think it's good.
Yeah, we need to celebrate these seniors ministries and encourage those who are doing it.
That's right.
That's brilliant. Thank you ever so much for sharing that. Is there anything you feel you haven't said that you'd like to share? As you've got the mic. I can't even take it off you.
Yeah. Okay. I think I want to say that for everyone, even if you're not in leadership or whatever, there's things that as older people we can do. We've got more time, as was said once. When you think of all the time we spent working, and now we don't have to. Great, isn't it? But we've got time to give, and I think time to look after one another. I think some of us have more money because we might have had legacies and things, so let's be generous with our giving of time, of money, and praying too, supporting other people with prayer. And I think just drawing out of other people their story, because I think in later life it's very easy to think, all that you did and nobody knows about it, and did it count for anything? But I think if we can show an interest in each other and just get to know each other at a deeper level and then pray for each other and support each other, I think this is a big part of our role as older people, peer-to-peer support.
Yeah, that's top advice. Thank you, Judi.